And a very good morning and welcome to Morning Express on this 13th day of August 2020. We're coming to you live from our studios on Mombasa Road and we welcome you to the show. My name is Michael Gitonga.
And I'm Trix Ingado. Today on the show we shall be taking a look at what you need to eat in order to stay strong in the face of coronavirus before or after you get a positive result. And we shall be breaking down the symptoms and the organic foods that are available that will ensure that you stay strong and that your body is able to fight off any viruses or any possible infections.
Later on, we'll also be speaking to the NACADA CEO, and one of the concerns that NACADA has is that of with the current situation where alcohol is not being sold in bars and restaurants, people have resorted to drinking at home. So we'll be looking at some of the concerns that they have and addressing that. But also we'll be looking at what's making headlines on the dailies. And this morning, what we have on the dailies on both of them is really a crisis in the Senate. A crisis in the Senate, and this is to do with the revenue sharing formula that has had a standstill for 8 record times. There has been no movement. And the question that we'd like to involve you and ask you is, should Speaker Ken Lusaka take responsibility for the Senate's failure to resolve the revenue sharing standoff? Should the Speaker of the Senate, Ken Lusaka, take responsibility for the Senate's failure to resolve the revenue sharing standoff? Remember, one of the things that they have said is that one of the things that is a fact is that he dismissed or stopped or adjourned the hearing unprocedurally, and this of course has raised questions as to how that was done. But of course his reason was that he was trying to beat the curfew, and at some point he really had to adjourn the House. So there's going to be a sitting on Monday, but we're going to be looking at that, and we'd like to hear what your take is. Should Speaker Ken Lusaka take responsibility for the Senate's failure to resolve the revenue sharing standoff? That's a question that we'd like to involve you in. The hashtag is KTN Morning Express. If you'd like to tweet, it's at Trix is at Trix Ingado. I'm at Michael G Gitonga. The hashtag is KTN Morning Express. But as usual, we're going to start with looking at what's making headlines on the dailies, and I'm joined via video link by Gloria Oroba Bieng, who is a youth policy analyst. And good morning, Gloria. Thank you for joining us bright and early.
Morning.
Yes, and great to have you. All right, so would like to go straight to what we have on the dailies this morning. And maybe before we go to the question, the headline on the Standard is a crisis of leadership. And that is really where the basis of our question this morning is. Ken Lusaka, do you feel that he is responsible for the standoff that has been there? 8 times they have tried to have this revenue sharing formula discussed and voted for, but 8 times they have failed.
He definitely takes a chunk of the responsibility, because as we have seen, there have been a lot of delay tactics. Different parties have different interests in it, and as the Speaker, actually one of the things that we look up to when in Senate is that the Speaker basically, when it looks like there's a lot of delay tactics or the House is not going in the direction that it should be, yes, definitely.
He has a part to play.
Yes, his actions are, he absolutely should take some of the blame for it. So there is a crisis in leadership in the Senate. That's
Do you
sure.
feel that possibly part of the reason why he's doing this is because there's a hidden agenda that the state would like pushed?
I'm not 100% sure, but you know his actions, just even adjourning the House and procedurally, to me, it raises some red flags, and also, and I'm sure a lot of people are also trying to find out what's the thing here. Has this person been bought off? I mean, we are seeing some of the senators saying that that the Senate is under siege, that there are a lot of things behind the scenes going on, trying to push agendas on behalf of certain people, and his actions are questionable at this point.
All right,
yes.
he might argue that he was between a rock and a hard place because he had a curfew to think about. And remember, the last time the president gave a presidential address in regards to COVID-19, one of the things he said, it doesn't matter who you are. If you go against the rules that have been given and the protocols, you will face the music. So he really had to do something. I'd say he was caught between a rock and a hard place.
Not really, because these are lawmakers. If we are allowing media personnel to go past the curfew because what they are doing there, their activities are seen to be essential. To me, this is a very important issue that should be seen as an essential service. So to say that he had to adjourn it because they were avoiding arrest and things like that, that to me is it's a shallow way of thinking, because we have had different people sitting past curfew because they are seen as essential services. They are seen as the activities that they are conducting are urgent and they are for the benefit of the people of Kenya. And so that is a very shallow argument to say that he was trying to beat the curfew.
To beat the curfew. No. All right. And
yeah.
On the Daily Nation, we have it headlined as Secret Card in Revenue Battle, and the fight over county revenue sharing formula set to get fiercer amid claims that there are powerful people linked to the handshake and are determined to force through a decision favored by President Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga. What is interesting about this, Gloria, is that we would like to imagine that the two leaders, Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, have already put their thoughts and their mind to the Senate of what they would like passed through, but it just doesn't seem to move. So that leaves us wondering, is it just Ken Lusaka, or is it also our president and Raila who possibly are failing in getting their word across?
I have been on this show many times, Michael, and I've said that the rain started to beat us when this handshake came, because it's an interference of proper procedure, an interference of democracy, as you're seeing, an interference that's not necessarily for the good of the people. Now, there is speculation that definitely there is a hand, Raila's hand is here. But what I can say is, I'm glad that the senators have finally realized that this is it's an issue of democracy, and we should not be held hostage in terms of two people going somewhere, shaking their hands, and then hoping that the whole country passes their agenda. It is a failure and a crisis of leadership, not only from the Speaker, Ken Lusaka, but as well from the President as well. And if Raila Odinga has been saying that he's in government, he should also take some responsibility, because dragging this process is actually essentially what it's doing is that the people at the county level, services that should have been offered, and these budgets that are being held hostage, is because of the lack of leadership, or this thing that they thought they had the numbers, and so therefore it was just disorganizing.
It's going to be a walkover.
It cannot be a walkover, because Kenyans have woken up, and we have a democratic system that should work, and that is what they are finally seeing, that you might have the numbers, but having the numbers does not mean you can buy the whole Senate and say we are going to pass.
So if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is this is a good thing for Kenya, because finally we have senators who are making decisions based on what they believe as opposed to what they're told.
And actually, not only based on what they believe, but based on the feedback of the people that elected them. So these senators are not responding to their personal interests. Some of them are actually supporting the formula that is, or they're actually going against the formula that would help benefit their counties. But what they're saying is they're taking feedback from the people, from the grassroots, the people who elected them, and that's what they're responding to. So it might seem like it is a stretched out procedure, because of course there's a lot of interference from different parties, but what Kenyans should understand is, at the end of the day, what is happening is that we are seeing the practice of democracy, and we should, at least at the bare minimum, be very grateful that a Senate cannot be bought by two people.
All right.
And that is what's happening.
I want us to look at other stories, but just before that, maybe just to get your thoughts, and do you have a particular formula that you favor? Are you for the numbers of people or for the miles?
I am for equality and equity, and I know that sounds a little bit neither
Sound
here
like a
nor
politician.
No. On equality, what I am for is that we have to consider that some places might have large chunks of land masses, and some other places might have very few development. So we have to look at how to balance that off, because you can't just say we are all going to get 316 billion, because some counties actually, because of the marginalization that they've had historically, might need so much more to push on development. So for me, if the percentage that was bothering the Kenyans is that issue on population, which I keep saying that percentage that was given on population was 18%, because the basic share was 20%, health services was 17%. The other ones, everyone seems to be okay with the other percentages in this formula. So if the issue is on population, let us just, try and that particular population issue and find a way where all counties feel that it is equity that is being practiced, but we are not marginalizing some of the counties that are suffering from that.
Right, we are not, yes, we are not marginalizing while we are trying to sort out those who've been marginalized for a long time. All right, we'll wait and see how Monday is going to go, because I believe that's when they're going to be having their next special sitting. And, well, according to Ken Lusaka, he says the adjournment was necessitated by curfew. I want this stalemate resolved by the next sitting. We will not adjourn again until we are done. Speaker of the Senate, Ken Lusaka, we are watching and we want to see how that is going to go. Let's look at other stories, Gloria. And page 2 of the Standard, we have teachers ordered to start teaching in estates and villages. This is in what they're calling the community-based learning without charging parents, with effect from 12th of August until further notice. This, of course, again, is something to address the education sector, which Kenya was the laughingstock at some point of the world because we, well, as it were, erased 1 year. But it looks like now we are looking for ways and creative ways to ensure that our children continue with education. Do you feel that this is something we should have done before, having the community-based education?
Magoha was advised, CS Magoha was advised. I think it was already on week 3 of this pandemic. He was advised by education specialists, was advised by committees, teachers from private sectors and those leaders on those unions. And he was told, there's no way you can suspend an academic year. And he was actually told there are other systems that we can use because, Michael, one of the things that is very effective in this country is that Nyumba Kumi module. If you go to the grassroots, they use it absolutely for everything. If it's not for the chamas, security, it works. It works, and so therefore there's no reason not to try and tap into it by saying, in this community, we have identified in our Nyumba Kumi, we have certain people in this class, certain people in that class, and we have 5 teachers. How then can we try and cover some of the syllabus? This is a good thing for Kenyans. This is a good thing for our education system because suspending an academic year is absolutely crazy.
Right. It's ridiculous, and hopefully we get that right. Of course, this again is also, I believe, in preparation or practicing for when we actually do open schools, because it will give an indication of how prepared we are in terms of infrastructure. Because one of the challenges, of course, we have is if we say open schools, then we are confining children to certain spaces. But with this community-based way of doing it, we may look for other spaces, and maybe to use C.S. Magoha's words, children may also learn over under trees, and it looks like that may be the way to go.
And it doesn't have to be other spaces, When you go to church, you have the first service, the second service, the third service, and I believe that they are sending the same message. So what the community-based learning does, it provides an alternative venue so that you try to cover some of the syllabus on that level. And if it's practicals or any other academic activity that requires that they go to the physical school, they can then look at other options like turning that into a shift basis. On Monday, they can accommodate 50 or 10 from this class. It's just another way of saying a building is just a building, and education can be done on alternative means. Yes.
Okay, and let's wait and see how that goes out. Another interesting story is on page 3 of the Standard, and this is to do with Nairobi County. We do know that the Speaker, Beatrice Elachi, resigned, I believe it was 2 days ago. But this particular story is Sonko's doublespeak on Badi despite Uhuru's public censure. And this particular article is highlighting, an event that took place. And Mike Mbuvi Sonko was in front of the president saying that he has 100% support of NMS. But we do know that we've seen articles, and he says anything that is contrary to that is propaganda. What are your thoughts on that, Gloria?
I don't trust Sonko, and I believe I'm not the only one who doesn't trust him because He has a way of changing his mind and blaming a lot of things. In fact, yesterday people were asking, so is he sober? Are we sure? So shall we take it?
Yes, because he has claimed at the point where he was signing that document to relieve himself of certain duties, he says he was not sober.
It was not sober. As a leader, what people, the one thing that you cannot let the people lose out on or think of is the people must trust you. And if there's questionable, there's doubts, like, can we trust this guy? What is happening now? Today he's speaking this, tomorrow he's doing that. Of course, what happens is now we start looking at this leader as a joker, because I believe that some of the sentiments that he had earlier on saying that he was not really sure what he was doing, handing over the dockets to the national government, I believe that there was some truth in that. What we are not really seeing is how now he has done ship back to. So was his problem Elachi? If Elachi was his problem, he should have not tried to tie the whole handing over. So I don't know. For me right now,
in short, you're saying you would not trust his word. You wouldn't take his word to the bank.
Cannot be telling us one thing today and another one tomorrow. He must also be serious with his politics.
In his politics. All right. Let's look at page 4. And this is a story that started off, well, it's been going on for a while. But this particular one on page 4 is also on page 8 of The Nation. You are planning to reject election results, Ruto told. That's on the Standard. On The Nation is deep state is DP's new narrative. And if I was to use what they use as street language, these two articles are kind of referring and trying to say that deep state ni wewe. Remember, the deputy president was, on the dailies yesterday on articles referring to the deep state and saying he is not afraid of the deep state. Now, according to this particular articles, they're saying that there is nothing like the deep state. And let me quote what Karanja Kibicho has said. That's the Interior CS. He says, there is no deep state that we know about. The government is structured in a manner that everybody can see. Nowadays, we have a lot of facilities to ensure that we interrogate anything that we think about. Your thoughts on the deputy president referring or alluding to the fact that there is a deep state? I mean, this is the man who is second in command.
Michael, I don't know anything about the deep state, but what I do know is that there is a system that has hijacked this country. And that system, what it does is that it rewards anything but merit. It rewards nepotism, it rewards corruption, it rewards networks, but it does not reward hard work, it does not reward merit. A simple thing is, and I will speak of so that you understand that I'm not coming from I don't know about this thing called deep state, but what I do know is that there is something that exists, and to me it is a system. When you look at the youth affairs, this was the National Youth Week. When you look at what we are pushing the youth to do, and the opportunities we're actually opening for them. TVET, for instance, we are pushing the youth to go into vocational and vocational training. But when we come into appointments in government, we are saying, we're not interested in your diploma, which we pushed you to go to. We are actually interested in PhDs and 15 years experience. To me, that is a system that is basically ensuring that there is a small inner circle group of people who you might call dynasties, you might call deep state, you might call cronies, but there is a handful of Kenyans who are benefiting from this system. And to me, that is what we should be fighting. You can see it in the Senate when they say the Senate is being hijacked. We're not going to allow it to be under siege. We're going to fight for democracy. That there are people trying to, interfere with Senate proceedings, stalling tactics. That to me is a system that needs to be defeated. So whether or not there's a deep state or whichever terms we want to use it, any Kenyan who has lived in this country would be a fool to say that there is no
system,
cloud or something that is only making sure that a few people in Kenya are benefiting from even the COVID-19 funds, from budgets in government, from the certain democratic issues. So this thing to me, whether you call it deep state or otherwise, to me, I see it as a system, and I see it as a system that is corrupt, that is not going to benefit the Kenya, that has really put down a lot of Kenyans, including the youth.
And now when you talk about a system, are you saying that it's a deliberate system? Because you can have a system and that is entrenched in the way we do things. But are you saying this is a deliberate system meant?
It's not a culture. It is not a culture. It is a system. Because when you go and you queue at, for instance, immigration as a Kenyan for 3 days, and a person just makes one phone call to their relative, that is a deliberate system. It's not a culture. Because if it was a culture, we would see all of the Kenyans benefiting. But if it's just a handful of Kenyans benefiting and their families, then it is a deliberate system.
It is a deliberate system. All right, and we shall continue to keep our eyes on that and see how that goes. We only have a few minutes to go, but I'd like to get your comments on what's happening in the U.S. And we have the Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden naming Kamala Harris as his running mate. Just to get your thoughts on this and what you expect out of this.
As a woman, as a youth woman who's in this space, I was very happy to see that. If not for anything, it's just for the gender parity that is in these political spaces. It actually gives a ray of hope for some of us aspiring leaders that it can be done, that you can put your best foot forward, and we are not in the times where you'll be seen as a woman who then, we cannot put you in certain positions. I was very, very excited on that announcement. And also, I wanted to point out that come 2022, in fact, people should stop looking at who's the presidential candidate or what. Where are the women? Where are the women to come out so that you can put our best foot forward, so that you can actually be seconded to be a running mate of a presidential candidate? We need to see more of that in Africa. We need to see more of that in this country. And that can only be achieved when we fight the system that I'm talking about.
All right, as much as we'd be looking forward to having a woman presidential candidate in Kenya, our National Assembly has not even been able to pass the two-third gender bill. And we are still, it's running as it were illegally, but do you see Kenya ready to embrace a woman president?
Kenya is ready, but the few people who are pushing this system are the ones who are letting
we go back to the system.
No, I'm not going to go back to the system. I was going to tell you. Martha Karua said something this past week, and she said, we were in a failed state, because now we are at the point where nothing seems to be working as it should be in terms of devolution, as it should be in terms of democracy. And so I wouldn't say that we are not ready. I would say that we are waiting for the next elections, because we have actually understood the wrongs that we did in the past election, and we have started to see that certain people might not be the leaders we thought they would be, but they're the ones who bring the change. So Kenya is ready for a female running mate for the president, or a president, or for many female governors, because now we are down to two. So we are ready for female leaders to step up, because they do bring something different on the table.
On the table. All right, Gloria, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Gloria Oroba Bieng, who is a youth policy analyst. Thank you for joining us this morning to review what's making headlines on the dailies. And well, as we take that break, a quick reminder of that question that we asked you earlier on. Should Speaker Ken Lusaka take responsibility for the Senate's failure to resolve the revenue sharing standoff? We'd like to hear what your take is. Trix is at Trix Ingado. I am at Michael G. Gitonga. The hashtag is KTN Morning.